Good morning. Celebrate, celebrate, dance to the music. As we have this wonderful season where we recognize not only Latin, winter, Jewish, Christian, Kwanzaa traditions, we are now in that moment of celebrating, and may we do it happily. My name is Bob Alto, worship associate. I go by the pronouns him, he, his. Welcome to this community of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada as a visitor or as a member. You're treasured here in this spiritual community, regardless of gender identity, age, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, or immigration status. Here you are free to be, to explore the gifts of spirit and community. If you are a newcomer, we would ask you please to fill out the newcomer form online. As we go through the service, you can enjoy it in the speaker view and gallery. You will remain muted during the service. Please use the chat box for comments and joys and concerns. And at the end of our service, you are invited to stay to join in small groups for our holiday parties. So we will celebrate.
In these cold, dark winter days, we're reminded that the darkness is as important as the light. The cold and dark of winter is as important to life as the bright warmth of summer. We need the blessing of the dark as much as we need the blessing of the light. And as a community committed to anti-racism, we recognize the danger of always equating white or light with good and black or dark with bad. To claim the blessings of the dark is an act of justice. And so you're invited to access the chalice that you have nearby. And as we light our chalices today, let us honor the gift of darkness, the gifts of rest and healing. To truly rest, we need the dark. In the darkness of sleep, our bodies and our brains have the opportunity to heal. In times of anxiety and stress or worry, we give thanks for the healing power of darkness. May we be blessed in these days by the gifts of darkness and rest.
It is easy for many to believe that because many of us are Latinos or Hispanics, we all come from Mexico and that we are all devoted to Our Lady of Guadalupe. But that is so far away from reality. Each country in Central and South America and the Caribbean have their own patron virgins. We all know Our Lady of Guadalupe, better known as Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, patron saint of Mexico. According to tradition, the Virgin Mary appeared to an indigenous man named Juan Diego on December 9th, 1531. The Virgin asked that a shrine in her name be built in the spot where she appeared, Tepeyac Hill, which today is a suburb of Mexico City. She is depicted with brown skin, an angel and a moon at her feet, and rays of sunlight that encircle her. The appearance of the Virgin of Guadalupe to an indigenous man is said to be the force behind the creating of the Mexico that we know today. It's a blend of Spanish and indigenous blood, her dark skin, and the fact that the story of her appearance was told both in indigenous language and in Spanish are said to have helped creating the Mexico and Christianity at the time of the conquest. She is seen as having a blend of Aztec and Spanish heritage. But for the Cubans, La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre. History and legend have mixed together in the story of La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre. It is believed that three Juanes were fishermen and the Virgin appeared to save them from the terrible storm at sea. It is also believed by some people that a ship carrying the statue of the Virgin Mary was wrecked on the coral reef in the Caribbean, and the statue floated to Cuba. They claim that several times the church officials tried to return the statue to Spain, but each time something unexpected happened and the statue returned to Cuba, which explains why the Cubans feel a special attachment to her. Cubans refer to her as Cachita. On September 8th, Cubans show their devotion to the Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre. They dress in yellow, putting some flowers and special treats like honey and pumpkin on her altar, lighting candles in her honor. It is believed that La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre united Cuba, is that she traditionally represents women of mixed race, thereby symbolizing the Cuban people. In Puerto Rico, La Virgen de la Providencia is believed to be the devotion of Nuestra Señora de la Providencia, originated in Italy, spread to France and Spain, but arrived in Puerto Rico after the island was discovered in November 19, 1493, when Christopher Columbus first set foot on the island. In January the following year, Monsignor Hill arrived the island and he said Our Lady of the Providence as a patron saint of the island. She's represented the protective care of God, but not just a giving God, but God helps those who help themselves. It is believed that Mary seems to have taken Jesus' last words, when he said, "Woman, behold, this is your son. Son, behold, this is your mother." Mary has always made herself present to her children in a faith and unique way. Our Lady de la Providencia, the woman Jesus left as our mother. According to the belief of the Puerto Rican people, Mary, our mother, who actually makes herself present to her people, reminds the Puerto Rican of her love and protection. The Divine Virgin of the Providence, patron of the island, is known to give laughter, singing, dancing, and celebration, and makes sure her children always remember who they are. The title of Mary, Mother of the Divine Providence, is often traced to her intervention in the wedding of Cana, Christ's first public miracle. The occasion, in part of the intercession of his mother, she helped through her foresight to concern and to avoid embarrassing situation for the newlyweds. Our Lady of the Providence is sometimes also identified as the Queen of the home. I was never devoted to any of the virgins. I believe that I was a Unitarian Universalist way before I knew it. But my aunt was very devoted to the Virgin of the Providence, and my mother, even though she was Puerto Rican, she was extremely devoted to the Virgin of la Caridad del Cobre. She was so devoted that when my kid sister was born, she named her Waleska de la Caridad in honor of the Virgin of the Caridad. My kid sister, who is blonde, and at the time of birth looked like a little nugget of gold, the gold hair of Nuestra Madre de la Caridad del Cobre.
Now is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to generously share our bounty with each other. Please text UFNN to 73256. Follow the instructions sent to you. It's easy. If you prefer, please send a check or cash to UFNN at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, Nevada, 89511. For convenient automatic giving, contact our office for an automatic draft authorization form. Our current Share the Plate partner is the Nevada Youth Empowerment Program. Please share your generosity. And I am proud of our community and the important donations of service and love during this time. We need our spiritual community in these days. Now let the offering begin. Please join with me in the dedication of the offering to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
In these very interesting and unusual days, and through the miracle, it often feels like, of technology, I led worship in Delaware this morning, very early, and I'm really happy to be with you at this much more approachable hour. I want to remind us this morning, as we honor the Holy Mothers of Color, and as we enter into this holiday season, I remind us again and again what we already know, and that is that Jesus was not white. In spite of the nativity scenes that we see on lawns and everywhere that depict otherwise, Jesus was not white. How many of us remember the portrait of the blue-eyed, blonde-haired man holding a lamb enshrouded in gold? Nothing could be further from the truth. And that is really the epitome of white supremacy, that Jesus would be represented in that way. And so consequently, also, Mary was not white. And we see the images of her with hands folded, radiant, all aglow, meek and mild. And we want to remind ourselves that that is an archetype. And I suspect that there was much more to Mary, and that she had quite a journey to get her to where she went. As a woman and as a mother, I have often felt that there was so much more to her than what was depicted. I love how Jan Richardson, poet and mystic, imagines a side of the Holy Mother that we don't often see. I love this piece of hers when she has Mary saying, "Take this message back to them, that when the angel left, I wept. I thought I was insane. I sat in the dark for 3 days, that I dreamed of stones, that I dreamed of angry crowds, that I dreamt I spread my arms to greet them. Say that on the 3rd day, a wind in the door, fire, ancient familiar music. Say I opened and laughed just a bit." I like that image of a much more human, passionate, emotional, real Mary. Fierce, courageous, bold, defying odds, homeless. These holy mothers, not so meek and mild, really. Yesterday was the Virgin of Guadalupe feast day in much of the world, in Mexico and the United States. And I see her spirit and her fierce boldness in lots of places. I see it in the Ni Una Menos feminist collective, when they took over the Mexico City headquarters of the National Human Rights Commission and turned it into a shelter for victims of gender-based violence. The commission's Mexico City headquarters, they said, are now our property. We're not going to hand it over. It's now a safe place for victims, said one of the members whose daughter was murdered in 2016. I see her fighting spirit in all of those who have worked so hard to protect the vulnerable, to protect DACA. And so we celebrate that last month, the federal judge in New York City said that Chad Wolf was not acting lawfully as Chief of Homeland Security, and as such, his suspension of DACA was invalid. The US Supreme Court had ruled in June that the Trump administration wrongly tried to shut down protections of the Obama era legislation that we know as DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And so, because of the shenanigans and shuffling leaders around at the Department of Homeland Security, the judge confirmed that Wolf was not lawfully serving, and therefore his efforts to suspend DACA were overturned. That ruling applies to over 1 million people, including more recent DACA applicants and those seeking 2-year renewals of protection. The National Immigration Law Center sees it as a major victory. And so we celebrate that, and we celebrate with all DACA status holders and their families. Isn't it great to have good news? And I see the Virgin of Guadalupe's story in Angie's story. And I asked Angie if she might tell you her story herself, and she requested for me to tell it. Angie is a colleague who works with our partner organization at WACS, the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. She first came to the US at 2 years old and returned to Mexico due to immigration issues, returning to the United States at 5 years old. At 14, she went to apply for a job with some of her friends, and she asked her father for her Social Security card, and at that time discovered that she was undocumented. She married at the age of 17, but to gain immigration status at that time, she would have had to go to Juarez, which is not a safe place for women. She tells me that many women have disappeared there, and you go to the consulate and the embassy there, and you could wait for your appointment anywhere from 1 day to 3 months. So it is not safe to do that. She obtained her DACA status around the age of 26 or 27 and decided to start the citizenship process. And when she did that, she would still have to leave our country and come back in order to prove that she entered the country legally. And so she planned to do that as a young woman, and never having been outside of Reno, never having traveled, she made plans to do that with her father. Because if you're not a citizen, you cannot travel freely back and forth across the border. She and her father made plans to leave Reno and visit her grandmother, who was very ill in Mexico. And the day before leaving, her father was killed in a car accident. She was grieving and scared to death about making the trip alone to fly to Mexico and back, and hoped that she would be able to get back into the US, where her husband and 4 children were waiting for her. It was a very difficult trip, but she made it. She began the process to citizenship then and is working on it still at age 33, because it's a difficult and expensive process. Angie is so determined that she's been making and selling tamales while working full-time, going to school at TMCC, raising 4 kids to earn the funds to apply for citizenship. Angie told me the story that as a teenager and growing up, she was involved with her parents in the Catholic Church. But as a teenager, she left because when she took her friends there, she saw that they did not receive the same open arms welcome that she did. And she began to question whether the love she felt was only because of her parents, because her friends looked different and dressed different. However, the Virgin of Guadalupe has been important to her and remained important to her. There's an icon of a statue of the Virgin in her family that keeps over and over again finding its way back into her possession. And what she told me that means the most to her about the Virgin of Guadalupe is her humility. How she could have appeared to religious dignitaries, but instead she appeared to the poorest of the poor. It's a reminder to us of how to treat people, she says. The fierceness, the audacity, the raw and tender courage, the humility of Mary, of the Virgin of Guadalupe, of Our Lady of Providence, of the Virgin de la Caridad del Cobre, has been passed for generations of women and generations of men and generations of all genders, and all of us to call forth the courage, the boldness, the wisdom, the humility in all of us. May it be so.
I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love.
We come together in our time of prayer and meditation to join our hearts and our spirits and our minds together as one. There's so many things that are on our hearts and our minds in these days. There are things that we are able to speak, and there are things that we hold in such deep places that we have no words. However it is that we hold these, be assured that we hold them together. Ground of our being, spirit of love and life. We give thanks for this community. We give thanks for the work for justice. We give thanks that we can see that things are turning and changing and moving to a better place, step by step, ever so slowly. We thank you for the determination and courage of all those bringing about positive change. We seek strength and stamina to continue the work, to continue the fight. We bring today our joys and our celebrations, our concerns and our fears, and you're invited in these next moments to record these in the chat box. together all of our sorrows, all of our hurts, all of our difficulties, all of our celebrations, our sense of wonder, our joy, and we hold them all in the heart of love. And we offer our gesture, as is our custom, one hand on the heart, one hand with the energy of love extended outward one to another to remind us that we are all connected, as a way of saying, I see you, I hear you. We are indeed stronger together. Amen.
I'm sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love.
We want to thank you so much for coming present to our service this morning through the miracle of technology in the way that we can be together. It is certainly not perfect, but it is better than not being together at all. So I appreciate so much your consistency in coming week after week so that we can see each other and be together and have our sense of community together. Please do watch your emails. We have so much going on for opportunities for connection during this holiday season, and hope that you will avail yourself of many of those. Our Legacy Committee would like you to know that it's time now to support UUFNN's future, and it's time now to consider a year-end donation to the Legacy Fund that's tax deductible. And if you have questions about that, we can certainly connect you with someone on the committee who can answer any questions that you have. Also wanted to ask you to pay special attention and mark on your calendars now, make plans to be with us for two very special services coming up. This Friday, we will share together in our Solstice Taizé, and that will be lots of music, singing short chants and some readings, a beautiful time of meditation on the solstice. And you're invited to bring not only your chalice, but an extra candle to use for candle lighting later in the service. We'll want to be together by candlelight as much as possible. And then on Christmas Eve, the Taizé service is at 6 o'clock this Friday, the 18th. And then on Christmas Eve, our service will be at 5 o'clock. You're also invited to bring an extra candle to that service for a beautiful time of music and being together as in a way that we may not ever do again, I hope, but we will be together for a beautiful and meaningful service and share that time together on Christmas Eve. And Jackie Riley has an announcement.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Riley, chairperson of the Committee on Shared Ministry, which represents you in supporting Reverend Karen and her ministry. As was mentioned last Sunday, Reverend Karen will be taking a 1-month mini sabbatical beginning in January. She's eligible to take 5 months in 2021, but will take 1 month at this time due to COVID. This is a time for all of us to be even more mindful than ever in taking care of each other, including our beloved minister, Reverend Karen, and our staff who have done such a phenomenal job during these past 9 months, and all the volunteers behind this service today, and so many other things. It's time for Reverend Karen to take some time to take care of herself, to replenish, reflect, rest, rejuvenate, and preserve her health. We will miss her, but know she needs this time for self-care. Sabbatical is one of the best tools we have for ministerial longevity. We understand that you may have questions. Please watch your emails for some frequently asked questions. and answers about sabbatical leave.
And I wanted to make a couple announcements about events that are coming up. We are really excited that we have had over a dozen events organized by many of you over the holidays. So keep them coming. If you'd like to offer an event between now and the end of January, please just send me a note about the kind of event that you'd like to lead. Coming up on Monday, we have 2 different opportunities for building a time capsule. This is going to be a very simple workshop for how you can document the ridiculousness of this year. So be checking the e-announce. There's 2 different times that the workshop will be offered on Monday. Tomorrow, please let Dave and Lois know if you'd like to participate in the White Elephant gift exchange. This is going to be an easy, low-key way to exchange a gift from your home in a COVID-safe way. So let Dave and Lois know by tomorrow if you'd like to participate. And then we also have a new offering that you might not have seen yet. Lily Egan is going to organize a cookie exchange. And again, this is a fun way to exchange cookies the way you might normally do during the holidays with other people from our congregation, but in a very safe COVID-friendly way. So cookies can be dropped off at the congregation this coming Thursday, December 17th, and Lily will then divide them up and deliver them to your home. So contact Lily to RSVP and she'll give you all of the actual details for participating. And then next week is our Polar Express. You are invited to attend our online service in your pajamas next Sunday, and then to stay on for our annual reading of the Polar Express. And children and youth, you should have hopefully received a kit that gave you the hot chocolate and silver bell. So bring that to the Polar Express next week so that you can have hot chocolate while we read this story. And then lastly, if you took a gift from the Ribbon of Joy, thank you so much. I am so grateful for the generosity this congregation has shown. We had 73 gifts on the Ribbon of Joy for families in our community through our partnership with the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. And every single one of those gifts was purchased and will be delivered this coming week. And I especially want to thank Sue Steff and Valerie Labar for their creativity and passion in making this possible this year. They have done a tremendous amount of work. So please help me to thank Sue and Valerie for their help. And so if you can stay on for the holiday party after today's service, we will share more details about where to drop off your wrapped gifts. So after the service today, you're invited to stay in this very Zoom room. Bring your presents for wax or any presents that you still need to wrap and your wrapping paper, and we'll have an online holiday party together. And children and youth, please bring the gingerbread house kits that you got, and we will build gingerbread houses together. So thanks everyone so much for participating in the holiday party after the service today.
Once again, we're so glad that you joined us today. Please join together in our closing song, which is in the spirit of all that we have been about today.
Oh come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children dwell. Give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart bid cheer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as love to dwell. Oh, come, you splendor very bright, as joy that never yields to might. Oh, come and turn all hearts to peace, that greed and war at last shall cease. Rejoice, rejoice,
May we form our sign and symbol of connection in our windows as we receive the blessing. Beloveds, indeed, Emmanuel shall come within, as love to dwell, as truth to dwell, as light to dwell, as hope to dwell. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Stay on for our holiday party, and namaste.